Hello, dear friends. I have always kept the thesis that the great disclosure must be progressive to avoid fear, but there will come a time when the floodgates will open and all the soup of information will spill out, because this transition couldn't last to infinity. Opinion piece: progressive disclosure to prevent fear, not to catastrophism, avoiding anomalies, slow but continuous. Gradual social change. The ying-yang is gradual. The earth is the problem. Next workshop in Bogota. Progressive dissemination. Neither abrupt nor sudden. Huge ascension portal open. False vacuum disintegration. Small and discrete improvements. Let's start. The forces of light have communicated that they need to release information gradually, little by little, not all at once, in order to avoid cognitive dissonance. It will only be done as quickly as it can be safely integrated, without causing too many anomalies, which then could be processed quickly enough and would cause problems. Cobra reveals in a new updated report. Yin and Yang within Taoism also represents gradual changes. Our planet remains the main bastion of darkness in the multi-universe, and the main problem to be solved. The forces of light are eliminating the dark web of Atlantis according to plan. They are involved in very sensitive and risky operations behind the scenes, and nothing more can be said about it at this time. More concrete information on the planetary situation may be published in a few weeks after certain situations are resolved. In the meantime, anyone can sign up for Cobra Workshop in the on the New Atlantis in Bogota, Colombia. There, he will reveal for the first time the true meaning of the emerald tablets and the use of emeralds as portals to Agartha. According to Cobra, all other universes have been integrated into this one. The presence of darkness in these other universes is minimal, and much less than what currently exists on this planet. The main reptilian planet, stronghold in the most troubled of the other universes, was recently liberated in very hard battles with many casualties on both sides. All remaining darkness in those universes is expected to disappear soon. None of the dark entities present in other universes can travel to this universe any further. The only beings that travel from other universes are the forces of light, bringing reinforcements for the final liberation. Negative quantum wormholes still exist between this universe and other universes, but they will be eliminated shortly. Gradient. Progressive disclosure is a technique designers use to reduce cognitive load by gradually revealing more complex information or features as the user progresses through a digital product interface. Progressive disclosure is one of the ways to reduce complexity and can be useful when designers want to make products less overwhelming for the end user. Gradual means that everything goes in gradual steps in a progressive, staggered, successive, continuous, and regular way, not abrupt or sudden. Although it could come to what to it could come to that when the pressure cooker explodes. In physics, a gradient is the variation in the value of a magnitude between two nearby points and the distance that separates them. A gradient A gradient implies that it barely varies from one point to another. Excuse me. In natural sciences, gradualism opposes catastrophism and maintains that profound changes are the result of the accumulated product of slow but continuous processes. In politics, gradualism postulates that social change can be achieved through small, discrete improvements rather than through sudden movements such as revolutions or revolts. A gradient is the sequence of steps between zero and infinity on any scale. When one skips a step necessary to reach or something, we say it is a gradient change. This usually causes a drop or sinking of the previous grade as we see now. For example, if a spiritual being has degraded so much to a body with no awareness of being materialized, and you address him as a spirit, this would be out of gradient because he has degraded too much and needs to go through a few stages before conceive what it really is. This implies that the individual who jumps a gradient must go back and clarify things in a comfortable and appropriate way. When someone tries to assume knowledge at a level that is inappropriate for his evolution, this person will have losses in that matter from that moment on. This also implies that the same knowledge that frees can also change you if you are not prepared to receive it. We see this in the myth of Adam and Eve. They were beings too innocent to understand the science of good and evil, and this premature knowledge was the cause of their degradation. Each cognition must arrive at the right moment to favor your evolution instead of harming it. False empty. Excuse me. According to Cobra, a massive ascension portal has begun to make its presence felt in other universes. That would be the beginning of the transition process from false emptiness or false vacuum to true emptiness. A false vacuum exists with a local minimum of energy and is therefore not completely stable, unlike a true vacuum, which exists with a global minimum and is stable. It can last a long time in this state, but could eventually decay to a more stable state, and an event known as full vacuum decay. A vacuum is defined as a space that contains the smallest amount of energy possible. Despite the name, the vacuum still has quantum fields. A true vacuum is stable because it has a minimum of energy and is assumed to match the physical vacuum state in which we live. In contrast, it is possible that the physical vacuum state is a configuration of quantum fields that represent a local minimum, but not an energy minimum. That type of vacuum state is called false vacuum. Geopolitics. The coalition is waiting for a phoenix to rise from the ashes as soon as the implosion is over. Africa would be one of the biggest beneficiaries of all the collapse of the system, according to Benjamin Fulford. RFK Jr. wants that the world's largest asset management corporation secretly controls both political parties. Russia resists Western interference in the internal affairs of other countries. The US recognizes the failure of its policy in Africa. Congo accuses Apple of using conflict minerals. 100,000 Gazans crossed into Egypt since October 7th. The EU wants to ban the import of liquefied natural gas from Russia. Xi Jinping said the transformation not seen in a century is accelerating, and humankind faces growing risks and challenges. These problems cannot be solved without the cooperation of major countries like China and Germany, which are the second and third largest economies in the world. Economy. The Treasury bond is experiencing a perfect storm and is once again heading towards 5%. X22 report. The dark side is preparing to have a big change, and then they will make their move. The countdown started. Jamie Dimon says the economy is doing well because the establishment is trapped in its economic narrative. A survey reveals that Biden is losing ground to Trump due to economic pessimism. The world situation is becoming increasingly unpredictable due to the unwillingness of some countries to give up their hegemony according to Socha. The world is ready for a new multipolar order that aligns with the interest of the majority of nations. Europe. Europe cannot afford another austerity crisis. Europe seeks gas for the next winter. Europe increases its purchases of fertilizers from Russia. More than 3,100 foreign mercenaries fight for Ukraine. Ukraine becomes a testing ground for the future world order, says the president of Belarus. It is feared the presence of Chinese spies everywhere. Europe comes into action. Spain. Probable resignation of Pedro Sánchez as president after the investigation into his wife. A Madrid court opens proceedings against Begoña Gómez for influence peddling. Sánchez will not be able to dissolve the Cortes before May 30th, but he can submit to a question of confidence. When a Chinese car manufacturer like Chery steps up a factory in Spain, the world begins to work backwards. There was an independent country in Galicia between Spain and Portugal, and it did not exceed 30 square kilometers in area. It is Couto Mixto and was not recognized as a country for a short period of time, but rather held the title of nation for 7 centuries. An unknown town in Spain with 1,754 inhabitants, located in the Ribeiro region in Orense, Galicia, is full of large mansions, luxury cars, and private jets of the richest people in the world who emigrated to other countries, according to Forbes. Spain has become one of the main destinations for the rich. Americas. The aeronautical market is experiencing a record moment. The Mexican Congress approves a reform that allows the president to grant amnesties. Mexico describes the financial cut to Argentine universities as a return to neoliberalism. The Argentine population that cannot access any essential public service increases to 51%. The IMF analyzes a new credit for Ecuador for $4 billion. 5 opposition leaders in Venezuela are disqualified. Long life democracy. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.